Housing update, May 2023. So Biden wants to penalize people with good credit to subsidize people with bad credit who are buying homes. I was just reading an article from the Washington Times that just got published this week. And ironically enough, as absurd as it sounds, people that have worked their entire professional careers, did all the right things, made all the right choices, took care of being diligent with their finances, making payments on time, and doing everything that the world teaches us to do, right? We go to school, we get a great education, we go into the workforce to make good money, and if you make responsible adult decisions and you're good with your money and you have good credit because of it, you are now going to be penalized according to Biden's new plan to subsidize those people who did the opposite, were irresponsible, didn't take care and protect their credit. You, the responsible people that have done what it takes, are now they're proposing to take extreme measures, and they're going to penalize you guys when you go buy a new home to be able to subsidize people that are doing shit wrong. And so this had my head spin. And the reason why is because just before I did research and read that article and watched a small recap of this, I was also listening to an interview that was done on Fox News. And it was an interview that was talking about the commercial real estate market and what's happening in the real estate market. So I want to be able to expand upon this and explain to you guys where we are economically right now and where I foresee things kind of migrating to as we move into 2023. And for the average person, it's extremely bad. For investors, there's going to be some opportunity. But let's make sure that the investors are protected, because there are some investors that are on the forefront and the brinks of collapse right now because they're invested in the wrong asset classes. So let's go back to the housing really quick before we go into the commercial sector, and let's talk about this a little bit, because right now we know that interest rates are absurdly high compared to where they were just a year ago. And we saw this kind of coming. We knew this was going to happen, but where is the end? Where is the end on this? And really what needs to happen at the end of the day is interest rates have to go back down to correct this. But there's a supply and demand, and there's a inflation issue that the feds are trying to deal with right now. So Jerome Powell said, increase interest rates and make things expensive. Well, when that happens, purchasing power goes down substantially. And with home buyers right now, we already know that interest payments alone are more expensive than what they were just a year ago. And for most people, double so. So if you were at a 3% interest rate and you mortgaged a $500,000 loan, that's a $1,500 a month payment just in interest alone. That same interest payment, if it went from the 3% you got last year, went to 6%, that interest payment now is $3,000, an additional $1,500 a month. And for most American people who live month to month, paycheck to paycheck, and who have more months left at the end of their paycheck, that's where our debt comes from. That's an issue, because $1,500 is a bandwidth that most people can't afford to stretch further than 2 months, because they don't even have $3,000 in their bank account to afford that offset of payments from just that shift. So what's going to happen here now is we're going to start seeing an influx of bankruptcies happen where there's balloon payments, people that were on adjustable rate mortgages. And so there's going to be an opportunity for some of you guys to be able to do what's called loan assumptions. And when you guys go in and you guys do loan assumptions on some of these houses, some people don't know what loan assumptions are. For a lot of people that are listening to this right now, if you're an investor, you need to be paying attention to what the term subject to means. I'm not going to go into that on this video, but for you investors, understand that opportunities on the horizon for some people that are over leveraged on their mortgages, and they're going to balloon, or they're on fluctuating rate mortgages, and they just can't afford the bandwidth of expensive interest rates anymore. And so they're going to be handing in the keys on these homes. And if you are a diligent home buyer and you're looking at fix and flips, or the opportunity to pick up homes under the BRRRR strategy, where you buy them, you maybe do some renovations, you rent them, and then you stabilize them, you refinance them, what's going to end up happening is there's going to be an opportunity where, instead of going in and refinancing them, if somebody has an older mortgage that is attractive, not the fluctuating mortgages, not the mortgages you don't want that are not desirable, but people that are over leveraged, you can go in and assume their mortgages. So if there are people that have low interest rate mortgages that are selling, you can do a loan assumption, which is called a subject to, and you're subject to the terms that are already written in place to the loan that somebody else already has. And that's what a subject to is the term. You assuming a mortgage subject to the terms that were already pre-existing. Interest rates, terms, payoffs, increases in payments or interest rates, whatever those terms are, you're subject to. So if it's like a 30-year fixed mortgage, it's good. You have the ability to assume that subject to the original terms and take over that in most times without even credit check. I just wanted to let you guys know that tool's available. And as the market continues to shift, and if interest rates continue to rise, and the bandwidth for people's capital expenses along with just living expenses continue to rise over the next year, opportunity is on the horizon for you. Now, commercial investors, listen up. On our monthly market update, this is super important. As important as it is to me on the single family end, that's for the people that are the end buyers. That's for the people that are buying single family homes. What I know about my audience is that most of you guys want to understand the bigger game. The reason you guys follow me is because you guys understand that that's where I started, but the ultimate goal is to scale and grow, right? And banks are in financial distress right now because of what's happening. And when I say banks, I'm predominantly talking to banks that have been lending on the commercial sector, in the retail and the office sectors. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, retail and offices are getting pounded. You go into cities like New York City, and you go into these big ones where most their commercial real estate is office, like over 80% of their commercial real estate is office, and they have vacancies in excess of 70%. That means that over 80% of their commercial real estate is in financial distress. How does a city with buildings as large as of office buildings as large as they have in New York City deal with these vacancies? So as prevalent as it is on the forefront and the horizon in New York City, it's also prevalent in every city across the United States. Where the pandemic made it okay for people to work from home, yes, a lot of corporations are forcing people to go back to work. But what happens to those back office employees like accountants and CPAs, attorneys, people that are doing administrative work? Those people that don't have to have the forefront jobs in the office, they're going to still stay at home. So let's say that 1/3 of our workforce that once was in an office now is at home. That means that at least 1/3 of that office space that was once needed is no longer needed or desirable. Why, as a business, would you assume the liability of renting and leasing empty office space that you don't need? So there's a lot of downsizing going on in the professional office sector right now, and the bandwidth for investors who own it to pay it because of the high vacancies is starting to become very real. And so understand, ladies and gentlemen, that this is where creativity dominates the market. So when you look at the office building that I purchased for just under $2 million a year and a half ago, I took a $2 million purchase and turned it into a $33 million apartment complex. That was an office building. It was the creative nature of repositioning a financially distressed asset. And so in the same regards, we need the cities and municipalities to start considering incentives for developers to go in and take on these distressed assets and give you and I the ability to purchase them creative ways and reposition them into affordable housing, low-income housing, or housing in general, so that way these assets that are massive, like New York City, have more housing and less distressed real estate. And so what's important right now is how you're going to position yourself and what type of creativity you're going to take on to be able to go in on the forefront of a lot of this office and retail collapse that's happening right now. And some people are sitting back going, Jerome, this has already been happening. Yeah, in the retail sector it has. But office right now, ladies and gentlemen, it grew in excess of 11% growth just before the pandemic. And now it's getting crushed because of the massive growth that it had. And now it's getting crushed because people aren't going back to the office. And so, ladies and gentlemen, there's going to be opportunity where there's areas of financial distress. It's your creativity that'll create opportunity for upside and profits. And so we talk about the multifamily sector, and I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for this. And so when we're talking about distressed assets in regards to retail and office, I know most of you right now are sitting back going, Jerome, but what about multifamily? Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, multifamily real estate will be okay. What you have to do right now is do what you do until 2025. What the feds are proposing is saying, I think we can do this in 5 years. And look, ladies and gentlemen, if you look historically at what contractors have been able to produce and pull out of the ground, it's virtually impossible to be able to pull 4.7 million rooftops in multifamily out of the ground in 5 years. So I tell you guys, it's going to take at least a decade. Now, there is going to be a little bit of a pushback in multifamily, predominantly in the Class A fully amenitized sector. In the affordable housing sector, we'll feel a little pushback as well, but it's needed so badly that this sector is not going to get crushed. When I was reading the article, it read like this. It read, retail and office are in financial distress and look for investors and owners to be handing back their keys. So with the exception of multifamily, commercial real estate is going to feel the effects of what's coming over the next 2 years. So what that tells me is that all the research that we've been doing still validates that affordable housing is a place to be. Now, those of you guys that are building the single-family home sector, you're going to feel this. What we have going right now with high interest rates, ladies and gentlemen, will show its prevalence coming up in the later months of 2023. Now, I hope that we don't. I just project that we do. And from everything that I am seeing and reading validates that that is what we concur with, and that the world is migrating in that direction right now, and specifically the United States. And when I say the world, it's because foreign markets bank on the U.S. dollar, and when the U.S. dollar is weak and we're in financial distress or in a recessionary market, it plays out worldwide. I saw it happen during the 2008 recession, so expect it. Now, some people are sitting back scratching their head going, damn, Jerome, this video is doom and gloom. What do I do? Listen to what we're talking about here, because I've always said, if you guys go back to any video where there's financial distress, there's opportunity. Where there's recession, there's opportunity. Where people are losing, there's opportunity to win. And so what I'm telling you guys is don't focus on the negative. Focus on the positive attributes, because you can't fix the negative, ladies and gentlemen. You can't fix it. Not single-handedly. But what you can do is you can make an impact on improving it. You can't fix it, but you can improve it. So instead of trying to fix the problem that even our own federal government can't fix, the market's is gonna collapse in spite of you, in spite of I. The housing market is gonna get crushed a little bit in spite of you, in spite of I, in spite of myself. And so the retail and office sector is gonna get crushed in spite of you and in spite of I. But what if we can go in and be a part of the solution? What if we can go in and position ourselves where we take these distressed assets, buy them for massively discounted prices, and reposition them into a needed and desired asset class that can produce not just monetary returns, but long-term passive residual income? That, ladies and gentlemen, is going to make all the difference in the world in your life and the life of others as we move out of this economic recession that we're entering right now. Now, I know people have been arguing, is this a recession? Is it not a recession? We're moving into a recession now, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to feel this for the next 2 years. Now, you can either be a part of feeling it in a positive way or a negative way. The decision is yours. Even if you feel it in a negative way, how are you going to position yourself to climb out of this in a positive way? And I'm going to tell you how. I felt it in 2008. I had vulnerability in every sector, but I chose to continue buying real estate. And it was my decision to go buy more real estate at a time that my real estate was beating me up, because it's not what you buy. It's not what you buy. It's how you buy it, ladies and gentlemen. It's not if you should buy, or when you should buy. You should always buy, And the answer is you should always be buying, but it's how you buy, what you're buying, that is more important than if you should be buying or not. The answer is you should always be buying. And 2008 was a perfect example of that. I took a distressed retail development sites. I didn't take I took multiple financially distressed retail sites that were new construction, just like this construction I'm sitting in now. And I went and bought more garbage Class D multifamily fourplexes, and I went and bought as much of this as humanly possible because it was the asset class that was still leasing at that time, and the cash flow that I got from the garbage I bought was paying for all the beautiful brand new construction that almost sucked me under. And the exact same thing is going to happen today, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to see what happened in 2008 on the commercial sector. Now, will we see it on the residential sector? Probably not nearly to the magnitude as what we saw in 2008. But on the commercial sector, we're going to see it. And we're going to see it in a big way. Where, how are these people going to service the debt on this stuff? By buying more real estate. How are you going to buy this stuff at a discounted price and service the debt on it? By repositioning and creativity. Look, ladies and gentlemen, if you love the content that you're hearing right now, you want more market updates and strategies of how to take advantage of the market and where we sit each and every day, no matter what we're doing incredible or it's gloom and doom, then click below, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and smash that thumbs up button. I'm going to put some market updates right behind this video to better help you understand what's happening in the multifamily sector predominantly. I just recorded last week an advanced multifamily video about the market crash in multifamily. And there will be some market crash in the Class A fully amenitized multifamily to come. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll want to watch that video. The time is now. Click and subscribe to our YouTube channel, crush that thumbs up button, and I'll see you next time.